that those of you who walked in here for the first time find that same kind of excitement and happiness and joy that many of us have found here, and a place of remembrance that you are not your circumstances. You are not your human body. You are not your problems. You are much greater than that, and that wants to be lived. And so we have strategies and ways and events, and everything is geared towards living that higher vision. So anybody has any questions, just ask us. You'll be receiving a welcome packet if you're here for the first time. And I'm excited to be here. I got to sleep with the windows open last night. Oh, that was heaven. So I'm Frankie Timmers. I'm the spiritual director here, and I'm so glad that we're together this morning as a spiritual community to remind each other of that inherent greatness. Our dear John Pavlik is assisting me today. We're going to send them some energy too, because John and Lucy are going to be starting their 3rd year of ministry training. They're getting close, people. You can tell, right? Because they bring such joy and such a beautiful consciousness to me and to our whole community. So we're incredibly blessed. So one of the things that we always do at our center is spiritual mind treatment, which is our word for affirmative prayer. So let's start with that. Let's close our eyes and just take a moment to set the tone. And I actually forgot to do the guided meditation, so I'm going to weave that in too. Haha. So just take a moment to just imagine that you are a container for spirit, and that right now you just empty of everything that's going on in your life, everything that you tend to identify with or over-identify with, and just become that space, that empty space, that blank canvas, that open vessel through which spirit, the infinite intelligence, divine life, universal love, whatever you like to call it, flows into, moves through you. And just feel yourself become more open, more relaxed, more receptive, more present. And here let's know a greater truth, that there's a power and a presence that is greater than we are. It is the universal intelligence that makes the sun rise every single day, even though there might be clouds. It makes it set at the end of the day. It makes sure that the seasons change with utter predictability. It allows for the oceans to rise and fall in perfect predictability. It is that same life force that moves in and through us. It actually moves as us. But because we have an individualized mind, because we have freedom of choice, because we are an individualized expression of the one, we must choose how we experience that. And those choices show up in our lives. So today, we clarify our own consciousness. We clarify our understanding of what spirit in us is. We make choices that support our dreams, our visions, our missions, our purpose. And then we keep moving into that direction, supporting ourselves with the spiritual practices that are available. And so today we remember to stay centered and clear and focused, and to always keep into our hearts this idea that spirit in us, as us, is us. That's something to be deeply grateful for. And so we accept it, and gratitude becomes the true experience. Right here and right now, and so it is. So, it's August, and we are continuing the global vision of 100 years of the science of mind. And this is the book we're reading this month. The one in the bookstore is a little different, but it's called An Introduction to Spiritual Mind Treatment, 5 Steps to Freedom by John Waterhouse. And it really takes you a little bit more deeply through the steps of spiritual mind treatment, because that's the topic for this month. Spiritual mind treatment, the form. So I want to talk a little bit about that today. I want to talk about the different ways that we can do spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer. Then I want to talk about more conscious, deliberate way of using that. And then I want to talk about how we can surrender, because that kind of prayer, that kind of affirmative prayer, spiritual mind treatment is already living in us. So it's just about a deeper listening. And then John and I are going to do a little skit, we're calling it. So you get a little surprise of that, a little experience. So the best news that I can give you right now is that there is a table in the foyer, and lined up are some beautiful flyers that Connie and I prepared for fall classes. So I know it's a little early to talk about classes because some of you haven't even gone on vacation yet. But take a look and start listening to your heart, what feels right for you, because what we are about is spiritual education more than anything else. And so we don't just tell you what to think, but we teach you. And so there's some really powerful classes coming up, some that are free, some that are love offering, and some that are accredited, so there's a payment connected to that. I would say if you're a regular shopper or a Go shopper or a regular Starbucks person, it won't cost you any more than that. So priorities, right? So spiritual mind treatment is something we call affirmative prayer. And what I talked about 2 weeks ago is that our process of affirmative prayer has 5 steps. And so it's recognition, which is your definition of what spirit is to you. Then unification, which is connecting with that. Then it's affirming the greatest truth you can imagine for yourself. And then it's being grateful for that, accepting that, and then releasing it to the universal law, which then demonstrates it for us. But there are methods that are taught that are 7 steps, and that's what I want to talk about today. Dr. Ernest Holmes started off with a 3-step process, and then, as you may have learned on the first Sunday in August, it was Oren Mohn who added the 3rd, 4th, and the 5th step of gratitude and release. But in some centers, they practice the 7-step treatment. I usually do 5 steps. But when we do the classes, you learn about the 7 steps. And what that means is that it's called the argumentative method. That's why the talk today is really argue with God, because really in the end, any argument is an argument with God within ourselves. You might think you're arguing with each other, but it's never they never argue with each other. So it's a deeper argument. It's usually an argument with our higher self, our own divinity, because that's where the conflict lies. And so spiritual mind treatment is about, the form is argumentative method, or the 5-step method is the method of realization, where you go directly to the truth and affirm it. Most of us, when we're having a challenge, we need to use the argumentative method. Because I might get to the treatment and I might be, let's say that I'm broke. And I'm saying, I have infinite abundance and today I win the lottery. There's this little voice inside of me that goes, yeah, in a pig's eye. You know, not me. That's never going to happen. So we work with that little voice inside and we keep denying it until we go, got it. So it might sound like something like this, where you're going, God is all there is, Spirit is infinite abundance, I am one with that, I'm experiencing infinite abundance, and his little voice says, have you looked at my checkbook lately? And then I go, that may be my experience, but the truth is that I live in an infinite abundance. And I keep doing that until I go, I feel it, I got it. And so sometimes that means you might need a few hours. Ernest Holmes has been known to treat or affirmatively pray all night to arrive at that place. So it requires practice. So it's a form of spiritual mind treatment that looks at the condition we might be experiencing that is limiting. We deny it until we get to a place of the truth. And so the inner argument then is between the truth and the lies we tell ourselves, which might be a limited idea. Between the higher self and the lower self. Between our divinity and our humanity. Between the small self and the bigger self. Between the problem and the solution. So you might say, why the heck do we have to experience duality? It's not much fun. Well, there is a reason why we're in this human experience, and that reason is so that we may evolve. And that means that we have to evolve beyond the inner conflicts that we have. I love how I find wisdom. This is from a little magazine that's downstairs that's free. It's mostly advertising, which is why I hardly ever pick them up. But there's an article in there about the book Conscious Evolution by Barbara Marx Hubbard, who I really, really love. And one of the things that she says is this. It's about when we experience problems and challenges. And she says that we're all facing breakdown. That when we have a problem or when we have an issue or when we have a challenge, there is a breakdown that's happening. And we all experience that. We must in order to evolve. She says, at the moment, we are at the end of one phase of human consciousness and behavior and are experiencing the emergence of a new era of evolution itself. So maybe you're starting to say, oh, how am I contributing to this new era? Or am I stuck in the fear and the old and the breakdown? Keep that thought in the back of your mind. From an evolutionary point of view, despite all the suffering, this is surprisingly good news. Why? Because we have learned from the past 13.8 billion years that crisis precedes transformation. I don't know why it takes us 13.8 billion years to get that, but crisis precedes transformation. Do you hear that? Make it personal in your own mind. Problems are evolutionary drivers. Problems are evolutionary drivers. How does nature respond to crises? Nature takes a leap by creating new whole systems greater than the sum of their parts. This is precisely the kind of dangerous leap we are living through now. Evolution is moving toward higher consciousness and greater freedom through more complex order. That direction is inherent in each of us as our own inner motivation to be more, do more, and love more. We are so blessed that we get this, that this community and this teaching is all over that one, and that we know how to practice that. We teach you. So, Ernest Holmes says, affirmations and denials are for the purpose of vitalizing faith, for the purpose of converting thought to a belief in things spiritual. The foundation for correct mental treatment is perfect God, or perfect universe, or perfect love, whatever you want to call it, perfect human, and perfect being. Thought must be organized to fit this premise, and conclusions must be built on this premise. We must keep our faith vital if we hope to successfully treat for ourselves and others. So, stop to argue. Just stop it. Stop it. Notice when this is going on and just stop it. I love that clip by Newman. Bob Newhart. You got to look at that up on YouTube because he's doing therapy for this woman, and she said, it's only $5. And she said, how can that be? It's only $5. So she comes into his office, and he says, tell me about your problem. She tells the problem, and he says, stop it. That's $5. It's a great clip. It's a great clip. Or if you can't stop it, at least fight fair. At least make your argument a healthy one. Because how many of us have had the same argument since... How many of you have had the same arguments in your head about those who've harmed you, those who've hurt you, why you don't have enough money, why you have an illness, why you struggle, why you're afraid, why you're worried, why you're anxious, why you're this, why you're that? It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't take you anywhere. It doesn't give you anything but more misery. And it costs so much energy, so much life. So it's more important to notice the inner argument and just stop it and choose a different argument, or let go of it, or use it for transformation, use it for healing, use it for growth, use it for your own evolution. That's healthy, right? Would you agree? So it means that we have to think a different way. That's why we say change your thinking, change your life, because if you're thinking a certain way, your problems don't dissolve and you don't grow. You're not thinking right. You got to just change it. And treatment is the most powerful tool. So one way we do that is by adding the 2 steps, negation, affirmation. Is that you pay attention to what happens in your mind when you're affirming the truth, and you use that to deny that untruth until you get to the truth. So it's really, in a way, it's arguing for the truth. It's arguing until you get there. So I want to do a little thing to show you what that can look like. Okay?
So what does this look like to you? And you can see that by her posture, right? How does this show up in your life with money affairs, relationships, jobs, health? What's your posture like as you're out in the world? Because it shows up. We carry it with us. How do we walk around? It's all about getting back to the truth so we can straighten our postures up. So what are some affirmations? You are healthy, you are whole, and you are complete. Some others. God is all there is.
Tell me the truth, John.
God is all there is. There is only one life. This life is God's life. This life is your life. This life is perfect. Right here and right now.
Woo! That's what it looks like, right? So one way to use the concept of negation and affirmation is to just say the truth of how you're feeling. Although I might be experiencing breast cancer, I know the truth of my body is God in action, healing every cell. You might say, although I don't know where my next paycheck is going to come from or my next dollar, I know I live in an infinitely abundant universe. Although I am in deep despair with grief, I know that love is my true answer. Although I don't have an answer or a solution to my problem, I know something in me does, and I am willing to hear it. See, you can use that kind of phrasing where you say, this is my experience. Don't deny that, because then it goes underground and it just kind of is there chronically, right? And so it's really about doing this kind of inner discussion, inner dialogue, until you arrive at a shift. That shift may only last 10 seconds. It happened to me. But then you just do it again, because the next time it's going to last 20 seconds. And then maybe a minute. And then it adds and it adds. And then one day you wake up and you said, oh my gosh, I didn't think about my problem today. Or I didn't talk about my problem today. I felt good. Change your thinking, change your life. It's your consciousness that establishes your experience. My consciousness establishes my experience. It's important to think and consciously choose, because that's the power of your mind. So what do we do then? Well, we practice surrender. Because the beauty is, the truth already is. The truth is already in you. The truth is what created you out of itself. It's already there. You might not be listening to it. You might be listening to the untruths because they're so loud. But begin to really infuse yourself with truth, whether it's a book or a class or seeing a practitioner or coming here on Sunday. All that is just like nourishment that allows that inner voice of limitation to dissolve. And so it's being willing to believe something new, something fresh, something that relates to what you love, who you really are, what you want to experience in life. It's about claiming a greater way of being free, because that's your inherent nature. That's your essence. It is trusting that there's something in you shows the way, gives you the answers, is pure love, is the creative process that can be used, is the clarity and the wisdom that already resides within our consciousness, because it's the part of us that's connected to the universal consciousness in us. So give up the fight. Just give up the fight. Just decide. Jalaluddin Rumi, the 12th century Persian mystic, said, in the end, we tire of everything except heart's desiring and soul journeying. Isn't that great? Some of you have said to me, I'm so exhausted. Well, of course you are. You're fighting constantly. That would exhaust me too. In the end, we tire of everything except heart's desiring, soul journeying. Sultan, saint, pickpocket. Love has everyone by the ear, dragging us to God by secret ways. I never knew that God too desires us. Your challenges and your problems is God dragging you by the ears to the truth. But we don't have to be dragged. We can just surrender. Because we are here to live the truth as we know it, which is very unique and individual for everyone. It may seem the same, but it's a little bit different, like a kaleidoscope, a slight move. We're here to live the truth. We're here to live this idea that we are love in action, that we are spirit in form, that we're whole, perfect, and complete, that anything is possible, that we are already free. And then the work that we do is to dissolve the beliefs that are in the way. That's all. just noticing what they are. I want to close with a poem by John O'Donohue called For Courage. So this is for you to find courage to do all this. When the light around you lessens and your thoughts darken until your body feels fear turn cold as a stone inside. When you find yourself bereft of any belief in yourself and all you unknowingly leaned on has fallen. When one voice commands your whole heart and it is raven dark, steady yourself and see that it is your own thinking that darkens your world. Search and you will find a diamond thought of light. Know that you are not alone and that this darkness has purpose. Gradually, it will school your eyes to find the one gift your life requires hidden within this night corner. Invoke the learning of every suffering you have suffered. Close your eyes. Gather all the kindling about your heart to create one spark. That's all you need to nourish the flame that will cleanse the dark of its weight of festered fear. A new confidence will come alive to urge you towards higher ground, where your imagination will learn to engage difficulty as its most rewarding threshold.
So Dr. Ken Gordon, who is the leader for Center for Spiritual Living, for all of Center for Spiritual Living, when he teaches a class, he asks 2 questions. The first question he asks the class is, what do you want? His second question is, why don't you have it? And it's all about clarity. He talks with the students about what are the negative affirmations around why you don't have what you want. And then to clear them up with positive affirmations. And the positive affirmations don't mean we just come here on Sunday for that 1-minute miracle. We feed our spiritual bodies that one little meal on Sunday. It's about doing it during the week. What are our practices during the week? Reverend Frankie talked about the classes that are about to start. It's about how do we take care of ourselves. Jackie said it best in that song this morning. Woke up this morning, stayed on spirit. That's what we need to do our very best. How do we fuel ourselves? Which sets up my reading perfectly. Now, this is next Sunday's reading, so I'm a little bit ahead of everybody. This is from our Science of Mind magazine, and it's called Fueling Thought. Thoughts are like cars. We can emiss a lot of them in the parking lot of our mind, but it's the amount of fuel that determines their destination. If I fuel one car with repetitions of I can't, then I repeatedly arrive at destinations of failure and disappointment. If I fuel another car with I can, I repeatedly arrive at destinations of fulfillment and support. Reverend James Allen writes, "You are today where your thoughts have brought you. You will be tomorrow where your thoughts take you." It's simple enough analogy. We are consciously arriving at the threshold of experiences by the cars or thoughts we fuel. What I don't fuel won't travel. What I don't fuel won't travel. Dr. Ernest Holmes says it this way: no person whose entire time is spent in the contemplation of limitation can demonstrate freedom from such limitation. Fueling limitation is repeatedly talking about what you don't have or what you have lost. It is repeatedly talking about bad luck, not getting your fair share. It's about being jealous and critical of another's success. The car is programmed to drive you to a stalled, overpopulated, bumper-to-bumper graveyard where furious and desperate drivers blame everyone around them for all the gridlock in their lives. This is a good reading. You guys are going to be happy next Sunday. Fueling possibilities and solutions is repeatedly practicing gratitude for what you have. It is powering an appreciation for the entire journey, the lessons learned. It is choosing premium fuel of never-ending curiosity and includes additives of divine right action. Remember that our assembly line of thought is daily populated with the never-ending succession of cars. Fuel wisely. Jackie?
Thank you, everybody, for being here and for serving today and for your generosity. So we close now with a spiritual mind treatment, what we call a healing treatment. So I just want you to close your eyes and just hear these words as if they are your own. When I say I am, I'm not speaking about myself. I'm speaking from and to our higher self. So if there's something in you that kind of goes, no, maybe not yet, just tell yourself that you're willing. You're willing to believe. You're willing to accept these words. So right here, right now, as I close my eyes and turn my attention to my heart, I find the infinite light of love. I find that inseparable connection with the divine, with spirit, with the universe, with God, with divine love, with the infinite intelligence that is everywhere present in this universe. And as I make that connection, the floodgates open and I feel a newfound freedom, a deeper sense of faith, a trust that everything that is happening to me is happening for me, and that I have everything I need to embrace this next step in my evolution. I trust that the transformative power of love itself knows exactly what it is doing by means of me and gives me what I need. Most of the time, I might only be given the next step. That's because I don't need to know the whole path. I trust the next step, and I trust that when I take that next step with faith, that the rest continues to be revealed. So today's celebration is just a reminder for me to live an affirmative life. That is my contribution to the evolution of humanity. I surrender and I let go of anything that is in the way. If I need to know about it, I will, but I don't really need to know about it, so I just effortlessly and easily let it go. And I surrender any internal fight that reflects duality. And so accepting this truth for myself and everyone else here, I am lifted into a higher realm of knowing who and what I really am, knowing who everybody else is, and trusting life's evolution. And so it is. You're all invited for our social hour, checking out the bookstore and taking a look at Bridget's beautiful pictures. Have a beautiful day and an awesome week.